Hare Krishna. We're here at the Princeton YMCA for our monthly Vedic cultural immersion program, Prasad distribution, and Harinam Sankirtan. If you are in the area, please come and join us. We'll be here until 3 p.m. for another an hour and 15 minutes. We have some nice devotional literature about Bhakti Yoga and the subjective evolution of consciousness. And then, of course, our posters, the Lord Vishnu on the left. On the bottom here, we have the Panchatattva mantra and the Maha mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra. We always chant. And then we have our Guru Varga, the Acharyas, Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas. On the left, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And on the right, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. Another poster, Reincarnation and the Law of Karma. And the devotees, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
What are you going to do when it rains?
Well, we're going to just hope that we're safe enough under here, but we're going to stay until about 3 o'clock.
So we are going to get blessed, right?
By Krishna's grace, definitely. Yes. Definitely.
You sure you don't want my resume to pray over it?
No, it's okay.
No, not for a job, just to like...
No, just by being here. I'm serious. Just by being here, you're getting all the blessings.
It's personal. It's not. It's for you personally.
Yeah, but I've been personally looking for a job for some time and nothing's breaking for me. Do you have sage also? Sage?
This is just some incense.
Do you use sage?
Oh, here, I'll show you the offering. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama. Hare Rama.
Do you use sage?
You can also use the bell if you like. Never caught those. Krishna Shri Pad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Niskam Shanta Maharaj ki jai. Jai Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai. Our glories to the assembled devotees, our glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhakti Veda Vrinda ki jai. Jai Navadvip Dham ki jai, Nrishingapali Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju ki jai. Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham ki jai. Sham Kun Radha Kun ki jai. Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi, Vrinda Devi ki jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Scientific Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Jai Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari 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 Bol!
Krishna Kesavadas ki jai.
Jai Gurudev.
That was beautiful. Family Kirtan.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. So, Kirtan, what do you think about Kirtan? Now you've been doing Kirtan for a couple of months. Like, what's just your natural experience? Like, how do you feel about it? Does it feel like ecstatic? Does it feel like a drag?
Neither of those.
Neither?
Neither of those.
Could you try to explain it? I don't want to put you...
Why do I do it?
Why?
Why? To spend time with you, right?
Okay,
That's why I do it.
okay. But, so that's very nice, no doubt.
It's not a drag. It's not negative. It's not the ecstatic which you're looking to obtain. For me,
Okay,
it's in between.
in between. Very nice.
I get the pleasure of being here and spending time with you.
Hare Krishna.
And there is some fun to
Excuse me.
doing the
Would you
words
like
and,
prasadam?
it's interesting.
We have prasadam
Just
here
like singing.
today.
And singing is interesting, so there is some positive to that.
Jai.
You have the would you, how many would you like? Just one. Just one? Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Do you have,
Hi.
I want to get the brochure so she
Oh,
knows where it's coming. So this is from the Bhaktivedanta Institute here at Princeton. And he's going to just give you a little brochure. The organization's about. Thank you so much. Of
yes.
course we do. How many would you like? 2? 3? Okay. That's plenty. Yeah, we have plenty. Thanks. Yes, no worries. Came just in time.
No, I mean, unfortunately, yeah, I was gonna come.
Well, the sun is out now. It was raining before.
Yeah, so I came in time. Yeah.
Before
I
we...
appreciate it. Thank you
Yes,
so
you're
much.
welcome.
I have your info, so I
Okay,
will
great. So there you
contact
go. Thank you for coming.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Krishna has many ways of pulling us in.
That's right.
It's true. Right? You're a good person and you have such a nice heart that you would even try something so different from what you're used to just because your son is doing it. Many people wouldn't even do that much. So still Krishna's there doing that too. So it's very Krishna means in Sanskrit, Krishna, the name Krishna it comes from Karshna, means attract. Karshna means to attract. Krishna means the all attractive. So Krishna is so it's an ontological quality of God, of the real non-sectarian concept of God, right? That the absolute, that is the foundation of all finite experience from our perspective and all.
Is it still going?
It is. And in the infinite, God itself, God is infinite. So Karsham means the all attractive. What is that concept which, despite all the various apparently contradictory perspectives in the finite world, what is that one concept which has the capacity to harmonize all that? That is what the actual non-sectarian concept of God is. That's why the whole idea of, in the proper conception, surrender is the foremost principle of actual non-sectarian religious life, is surrender. Because only through the finite giving up its own false claim to knowing what to do with itself in an isolated perspective, not a part of the wider context that it's inherently a part of, the finite ego tries to limit itself to its local experience and then control the context around it for itself, without being aware of the fact that it has an integral relationship with that environment, and that the environment and the self are within a broader context.
Yeah, that gets too complicated. It all gets to...
Basically, Krishna means all attractive. So like we said before,
Because when you start trying to go down those different... And you're going to lose people in general when you start talking.
well, it means philosophy. Some people don't have the
In general
don't have
terms,
the ear for
it's
philosophy.
cool. When you start talking like that, most people, you're going to lose most people.
It depends.
It's true. Most people are not philosophically inclined.
I'm saying most people. Yeah, you're going to have...
Yeah,
but most
it
people,
depends on
you're
who.
gonna- most people are willing to accept, a certain generalizations about what you're talking about. When you start talking about the details like that, you lose.
It takes...
And the whole thing, again, you know my opinion about the whole thing about surrender and all that stuff. So that doesn't work for me.
Surrender is the main concept behind religious life.
Well, you know my...
Many people are resistant to that, no doubt.
Well, you know my thinking about religious stuff in general. Right?
But anyhow,
Religion is a man-made concept.
no, it's not though.
See, if you really had an entity that was all powerful, as we talked about many times,
Yes.
really all powerful, that it was involved in the creation of everything in the universe, not just Indian people, not just human beings, all life, not just this galaxy, in the immenseness of the universe.
Mm-hmm. Then what?
The need that you have to surrender and that you have to pray to such a being, and that such a being would require that, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, now think about this.
It doesn't make sense.
What if once a child was to such a capacity that they could meet their own basic needs, they completely forgot about the parents and left? Did that sound like a fulfilling relationship to you?
That's not the same.
Well, a child comes from parents, right? Child comes from parents.
Yes.
Because they didn't spawn themselves. They came from something.
For human beings and for creatures on this planet in general, yes.
For personal relationships. A person comes from a person, and then if that person were to just completely abandon the context from which they came, the people from which they came altogether, when they were able to meet their own needs, that doesn't sound like a very fulfilling existence to some. Many people would think like that, right? If every kid left when they were of age to just completely sustain themselves, and they left the parents wouldn't be so happy about that. And it doesn't sound like a loving relationship, doesn't it? Isn't that true?
Well, so what?
But just before we go anywhere else, would you agree to that much?
I suppose.
Right? I mean, that's kind of just like a reasonable, logical thing,
Yeah.
right? Because there's some gratitude that maybe the kid should have that he came or she came
Yes,
from
of
something,
course, of course.
and then that because it's a personal experience, that there's some personal exchange, that there's feelings on both sides.
Of course.
It's not just the feelings on the one side.
Of course.
So, right, this is on the finite scale between finite people. That much is true already.
Humans.
Humans,
humans.
but persons.
Yeah.
Because human,
All creatures on this planet in general, not just humans, all creatures have that relationship.
well, most
They-
animals do leave the parents when they can mature. There's not a relationship there.
That's not true. That's because human beings most people don't understand we assume things about other creatures, other animals. That's not true. There is a
it's
relationship.
a scientific fact that there is
All
only very
animals and all
a very
creatures.
very select pack animals, things like that, where they stick together. But birds, right? The whole thing. Birds fly. The nest. Fish, they don't.
Yes.
Some mammals, some whales and dolphins may stick together, but most animals,
No, that's not most. Sure.
insects, anyhow.
Well, let's not talk
can-
about insects, or let's not relate ourselves to insects.
insects, birds, reptiles, many lower mammals, squirrels, chipmunks. I mean, you can just, that's a simple scientific thing you look up. And they do. They leave, there's no
Connection
family unit,
after.
there's no connection after. Right, only in cows there is a person. Would you like some prasadam? We're doing prasad distribution here. Would you like some prasad? We're doing free distribution.
Brochures. Hare Krishna.
So the point is that there is a personal relationship that on both sides, that there is mutual feeling
Yes.
that
Yes.
that needs to be recognized for just a healthy existence.
Yes.
So why do we think, we know that the whole idea of life comes from life, right? You've heard that whole thing that the Institute talks about, life comes from life. That of course, immediately a child comes from parent, but when you follow that backwards through the generation, right? There has to be a first person.
Right.
Otherwise,
Theoretic. Right. There
Where
has
does
to
it
be
start?
Some start of creation.
Right. Where does it start?
Obviously, if you look at religious beliefs versus scientific beliefs, very Bible versus every other religious book, their version of creation, as opposed to the Big Bang, which theory. So
of course, I mean that's what this institute is specifically speaking much to that dialogue. The main thing is materialistic science says that life came from matter, and religion says that life comes from life.
well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
So the idea though
Life
is
obviously comes from life.
from
right?
life.
Yeah. Male and female have to create
Yes.
a child.
Yes.
So yes.
So if we follow that principle from the
It's really
starting
saying
point.
the same thing. It's just a different way of saying
No,
it.
because if we're being very careful about what we're saying and what we're thinking, right? Because we're writing an article about this right now, Maharaj. We're going to
Oh, nice.
publish this. So every parent in the finite beings, life comes from life. Every parent also comes from another set of parents. So at some point, it means they always rely on another human,
Yeah.
another being outside of themselves.
Yes.
So when you take that to its utmost, you have one of two options. Either there's an infinite regress where you can't speak of a beginning because you're just going to say, oh, well, this one came from two, and each of those two came from two more, right?
Right.
It's an infinite regression. So there has to be a categorical difference in the first life that it doesn't rely on something that's outside of
Right,
itself.
I understand, right? Which is sort of a similar thought, separate from the whole procreation thing. But if you take something and half it, so it's just the same kind of concept. Take something and half it, right? Half of something. Continue to do that. Continue to half of the half of the half of the half. Will you ever get to a point where that no longer exists?
No.
Well, that's a whole different. That's a whole
But that
different
is that
conversation.
same concept
Because the thing doesn't half itself. So we're talking about
Multiply.
We're talking about beings that actually
right, but it's the same idea.
they repeat themselves.
It's the same idea. In my mind, it's the same idea.
It's not the same.
It is the same idea.
We're talking about
Yes, we're
entities
talking about
that
different things.
that
We're
can
thinking of
interact with
expansion,
each other.
too.
No, specifically talking about
Yeah,
life coming from life.
I understand. Yes.
This is a very different idea than what you're saying. So if we could try to stay focused on this point and follow it logically to this endpoint.
Yeah.
Follow it very.
Yes,
very
I understand.
strict.
So at the very beginning, there had to be some change.
There has to be a categorical difference between the
Yes.
first life and what comes next.
After.
Because the rest of the life always depends on something else outside of itself. So the origin of life has to be self-sufficient. It has to be self-determined. It has to rely on, and so philosophically in history, in Western history, not even necessarily religious history, but philosophical history, this concept, philosophers have reached that concept. Spinoza, Hegel, they've reached, it's called causa sui, the cause of itself. That the absolute, right? The absolute means it's not relative to anything else. It's not contingent upon anything else. The absolute is
Right, well, that goes back to how was life first created, right? How did that happen?
Yeah.
And that will be discussed and argued over and forever.
There are conclusions that have been drawn. So anyway, if we can just be very strict with our thinking, and now if we can just
never be so strict that you can't question something.
And never,
because everything that philosophers, that scientists have ever, everything that is law right now.
Descartes said always doubt. Always doubt.
Until the next idea comes and somebody proves something different. All of a sudden, we thought that was correct at that point, but now all of a sudden we have this and this. Now we agree that this is good.
Yeah.
So there's always has to be question, because anytime you're talking about something happening hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of years ago, there has to be a big question on everything that you discuss about that.
So first, we have to be very sober about what we're thinking about.
But just think for a second.
I heard you. You communicated the point very well.
But just think about the hubris in trying to say that something that we can with certainty say that something that happened billions of years ago, we can say that definitely happened.
Well, we can't.
We can't.
From our finite perspective.
It's ridiculous to anybody that would say that.
You made the point, so let's pause now and actually think about it, and not get caught in argumentative thinking, because that's a different kind of thinking. Argumentative thinking is when we can only assert, and not be receptive.
It's factual thinking. It's common sense thinking.
Argument means we only assert, and we can't receive.
Good.
So if we can also receive
too, yes, I made my point.
That means we're maturing in our thinking.
You may.
So, yes, what you just mentioned is a quality of finite thought, coming from finite beings who are trying to assert their finite capacity on the context in which they're living, from their own power, from the finite side. The finite cannot know the whole, because they're finite intrinsically, by their very nature.
Right.
And I've told you that many times before.
But the finite is not all in all. This is the point. What we were trying to get to with causa sui, the self-caused, self-determined. Self-determination, self-caused, means it is infinite. When, for us, what is outside of ourself is different from ourself. When what is outside from oneself is also oneself, that's called infinite. So that's what the concept of God is. And when we can understand that context, that the finite, which meets all these problems of, we're very sure that this is what happened, and now 10 years later we have to change it. That's all the subject of finite thinking. That finite thinking is happening within the infinite. The infinite has its own existence by and for itself. It's self-determined. It doesn't rely on anything else except for itself. And we are in that, and we are reliant upon that. So when we try to only assert our finitude, and that's it, we will never get that fulfillment that is driving that process. We're looking for the fulfillment, asking the questions, because we think it will give us fulfillment. We're trying to find...
I disagree with that, though.
The only reason people try to...
That's true for many, for scientists, for everybody else. But if you accept from the start that, as far as the fulfillment aspect of it, because realizing that whatever you're thinking, whatever you discuss, realizing that could be wrong. No matter how much you think it's right, that's always the case when you're talking about these huge concepts, these life, where does life come from, these kind of concepts. Whenever you try to get fulfillment from coming up with some conclusion to that, you should know that that there's no reality in coming to a conclusion to that. Because like you said, we're within this universe. We're never going to know the whole truth. Right? We're never going to know the whole truth, because it's beyond our scope. We're not supposed to.
So I'm going to pause and then continue. We'll pause and then we'll continue from there. So to say that we will never know the truth, the full truth.
Human beings will never.
So that's, again, we have to be very careful and intelligent about what we're saying. So to say that is to make a statement about the truth. To say that we can definitely never know the truth is to make a definitive claim about the truth. It's a self-defeating argument.
No, it's not.
You have,
That's why I said we can't. I didn't say we cannot, but we will not. That's my supposition. We will not.
We will not?
We are not meant to.
okay, so
We are not
what
meant
capacity do you have to know that the entire existence of humanity, of reality, can never come to know the truth? What position are you in to make that claim in a definite way?
That's
just your finite.
that's my logical thinking. That's.
But what logic is that based
Can
off of?
can I interject? That's where faith comes in. Okay, because we can't. No.
Huh?
I said that's where faith comes in. We are finite. We only know what we know through our experiences, through our lives, through our existence.
Okay.
Faith
Yes.
takes us beyond.
Jai.
That's what faith is. I mean,
Sure.
we can't just believe in our own existence. We don't know it all. And by believing, and that gives me peace. I'm gonna cry. That gives me peace. Because, we don't know it all. We could just trust that things happen for a reason, for a purpose, and it's a purpose bigger than ourselves.
Jai.
That concept has been used throughout time by human beings to manipulate.
I am not being manipulated.
For sure. That
Manipulated.
concept is why
I am not being manipulated.
You have to believe.
I am not.
But-
I am
but
not
do-
being manipulated.
But do you think besides what you're saying, which is correct, do you think besides that is it possible for there to be anything else to it besides that?
Of course. So there,
Okay.
again, there is more.
So although what you said is true for some people, in this case where you're hearing,
Just look at your history, know your history.
in this case where you're hearing from someone who's not subject to those circumstances and is still talking about that, perhaps then it's better to just be receptive because you know they're not being dogmatically controlled by anybody.
So what I'm going to say to that is, human beings in general, just like your mother does, have a desire to want to believe in something greater.
Yes.
So this idea of
How about the government? Do you believe in the government? Because that's definitely.
talking about government, that's a whole nother conversation.
Let's not go there.
But do you believe that there is something?
just saying-
Do you believe that there is something in control that is bigger than yourself? Because if you don't, and you start breaking laws, you're going to find out real quick that there is something beyond yourself that will enforce laws upon you.
You're not going to compare that to this
No,
great
because it's called a spectrum. There is a spectrum, right? I mean, the Vedas talk about within the social construct, right? The king. And
People are watching, Ingo. People are watching.
In the ideal social structure of an ashram dharma, the king is being seen as being a representative of God, and is compelled by those kind of religious duties to manage the society in a very pious way, and as a result of that, the society prospers. And so there are histories of that, right? It's called the itihasas in Vedas. The Mahabharata, the Ramayana, those are historical narratives, but they're histories of past circumstances. So when a leader who definitely has much influence on everyone participating in the society, right? If we don't want to believe in God, there is still people who have power over us. And when those people are motivated by religious ideology, whatever that may be, and we're talking about
which is
a lack of self-centered, not
much
self-centered,
the case in our governments.
but a lack of
these
self-centered,
days, influenced by
real.
religions which are not supposed to be.
But we're talking about a pure religion means lack of self-centered, lack of dogmatic approach, not dogma where we're trying to, dogma means that people are trying to just assert things, and they are not really relying on faith that the Lord is controlling things. They're trying to use religion to empower themselves. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people who actually have faith in a higher authority, and they are trying to just be the medium through which that can engage with others.
Yes,
so there's two very different circumstances.
And those are the people that are never in positions of power because they don't strive for power.
But that's not historically true. No, that's what we're saying.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
So I mean, you'd have to argue.
People that really believe in that and really are just.
No, definitely.
No, I'm not communicating for Instagram stuff. But people like that who might be in a better position if they were in charge somewhere because they have positive and are looking for the best for people, right? But those are not the people because they don't strive for power.
Would you like vegetarian lunch?
No, thank you. I had lunch recently. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So anyway, I don't want to go there. But I'm just my general thing again in terms of religion. I've said it to you many times, right? So as soon as you talk about a God, every version of God, this Christianity, every version of a God and the religions associated with them are created by man. Thousands of years ago, at a time when there was a need to give human beings something that they would fear, that they would do certain things to, so they would be controlled for various reasons, right? But these are all man-made concepts. Now, the other concept
that's simply not a fact.
Listen.
So
the other concept of
if
a
you
real,
can, if you
of this
can
real,
accept that's your thought, and that
it
that
is
is
my
not,
thought. I can only express my thought.
but that is not the fact.
It is the fact.
Well, you just said
As soon as you talk about
your
God,
thought. Your
the
thought
word
is not
God. The word God is created by man. The idea of a God is created by man.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's
it
not.
is.
No, it's not.
It's created by human beings. Yes. The concept of an all-seeing deity, something that whatever is involved in creating the universe, however that is, that's a whole different concept. Such a being would have no interest in any of this stuff.
How do you know that unless you're God?
Because it just makes sense. It's just common sense.
No, it's not.
An all-powerful thing that is involved in the creation of the universe, of billions of universes, of
Again,
galaxies everywhere.
personal relationship.
And this,
how did we start with personal relationship?
And if this entity,
personal relationship.
If this entity
Personal
were sentient, this entity would be concerned about people praying to it. Does that really make sense?
Do you understand love?
Makes
concepts
no
of love,
sense. No,
love and mercy,
No.
purpose.
But that has nothing to do with what I'm
Why?
saying. That has nothing to do with what I'm saying. It is a simple concept. It is a simple concept. Whatever was involved in the creation of the universe and of the ongoing maintenance of it, with such energy, because really it's more energy than anything else, right? With such energy, care about human beings.
If you say it doesn't,
this,
it must be the fact.
And that's, again, because we're all centered on being human beings. However, there's billions of planets out there, so there is life out there.
Sure.
All kinds of life out there.
Yes.
Right.
So
If you take all those things into consideration, then you think about what religions have you do, it just doesn't make sense. It is something for human beings to make themselves feel better.
if you say so.
For various reasons.
If you say
But
that,
it makes no sense
it must be the fact,
in the
then.
universal concept.
it must be the fact. What you have said is the truth. It must be the truth. Because you said
Makes sense to me.
You said it.
Makes sense to me.
You said it.
Say, tell me something different that will make me think different. I haven't heard anything different
I'm
yet.
sure there's nothing I can say that would change your mind.
Well,
We have to be open. We have to be open
if
before
you
someone
think
can
about what
actually
I've
change.
said,
Ah.
how does that not make sense? Tell me how that does not make sense.
You-
Like a simple
Are
statement.
you actually willing to listen?
Of course. But you can't.
Linda! Dr. Linda, can you join
Hi, how are you? Good. You're here for Prasadam?
I just wanted to go by and say hi. I realized it's over.
Okay.
Please take one for shot if you like.
Oh, don't worry. It's fine. Thank you.
Please.
How is everyone?
Shot is Krishna's blessing.
So we're
having a very lively discussion.
family discussion.
Oh, I hope I'm not intruding.
No, we're wrapping it up because we really have to get going.